More and more big name recording artists are selling their catalogs for big money. What does this? We'll try it again. We're leaving it in though. More and more big name recording artists are selling their catalogs for big money. What does this mean for the artist and for the music business? Stay with us as we try and sort it out. Welcome, friends, to the 3324 podcast, music and movie greatness on a weekly basis.
Mm-hmm.
That's almost a rhyme. Music and movie greatness on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
I
See
think
how
that's close enough.
that's very good.
I think it's
That's
close
the
enough.
tagline.
You're getting better at the the
So
shtick.
this is all off the top. That's why we do this at night, because if we recorded in the morning, my synapses would not be firing at the same level.
Hey,
I'd
we've
be
we've
better
done that too, though. We've tried it. A couple of cups of Joe,
Yeah,
right?
we did a Beatles episode in the morning, and
Yeah,
we've
we
done
did
a couple.
several in the morning, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
but-
nighttime is the
Good
right
day,
time.
sunshine.
What's that?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, we should have done Revolver.
But see how I'm noticing now. You haven't said it, and we've done 3 episodes already now where everything's sort of balancing out now, isn't this? Dean has the music in the background. I got the movies going
Oh
in
yeah,
the background. So we're
I have one movie, but it's over my shoulder and difficult to see. So it's
there's
Planet of
that
the Apes.
balance. So yeah, this is
Yep,
3324.
repping. We're repping. We're truly repping 33 and 24 individual. If
Mhm.
you're watching us on
Yeah.
YouTube, if you're listening to us, just disregard all that visual. Rob has nothing behind him except for a
I
little
have an ace of spades.
ace of spades. So
Ace
he's
of
doing
spades.
the Motorhead. He's
Yes.
representing Motorhead.
There you go.
Although
Yes,
that's
I
not
am.
what it was, but that's what he's for the purposes of this show. He's representing Motorhead. So let's welcome. We know him as the Priz.
That's right.
You
Yes.
know him as Robert Prismant. Welcome aboard, Rob.
Thank you very much. Glad to be back.
Yeah,
Glad
it's
to
good.
be
It's
sitting in
always a
this
pleasure.
chair, talk with you guys.
Yeah, it's always a lot of fun to have you on.
Mhm.
So yeah, we're going to be not talking about specific music or specific movies. This is more of a topic oriented episode, which we've done. We're kind of branching out and doing a couple of those as it's warranted, not just to talk about anything, but this is something that's kind of been on my mind for a while because it keeps coming up. It's something that each week or every couple of weeks you hear about another instance of this happening. So
Yeah.
what is going on, and what we're going to talk about is the really, it seems to be ramping up quicker and quicker, that a lot of older, although it's newer artists, but mostly older legacy artists are selling off their catalogs.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mm.
That in and of itself isn't anything new. Artists have done that for years. Paul McCartney in the 60s famously bought Buddy Holly's publishing catalog.
Yeah.
When he was younger, his future in-laws, the Eastmans, were, kind of said, hey, if you want to be a good businessman, publishing is where it's at, and do that. And famously, Brian Wilson's father in the 60s sold the Beach Boys, publishing out from under Brian Wilson and Mike Love without a whole lot of their consent.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Famously, in the 80s, Michael Jackson bought the Beatles catalog out from under Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney didn't even get a chance to get it, and he did it. This is something a little different, though, because what's happening now is these artists are selling their catalogs to companies.
Yes.
And they're mainly selling them. I've kind of found 3 main companies that are buying these up. So this isn't like one artist that appreciates an older artist's work and wants to own the publishing. And of course, that's to make money. But these are companies that are buying up all these different artists. And the three main ones are Hipgnosis, Primary Wave, and Litmus Music. So I think we should kind of go over some of the artists and some of the money that we're talking about. And then what, if anything, does this mean for the listener? What, if anything, does it mean for the artist? And what, if anything, does it mean for music in general? I think those are the 3 kind of tent poles that we'll use to kind of guide our conversation.
Okay.
I was talking with Rob about this just before, actually when I asked him to do the episode, I saw him in person, and you mentioned specifically Billy Joel. Rob, you remember what you said to me about Billy Joel?
I said he was on the Howard Stern show the other day, and Howard Stern said, "Are you thinking about selling your catalog? Because it seems to be the thing to do, and there's big money there." And he said, those songs are my children. I really don't feel like giving them away. I put a lot of effort into each one of them. But if the right number came around, if someone came and offered me $1 billion, I'd give it some serious thought. And
Yeah.
he's not too far out of line with that number. A little high, but not.
A little high. There's only one. There's one group that has surpassed the $1 billion mark, and
Really?
everybody else is far below. So I've got the
Yeah.
list. So why don't I run through like the top 10?
Okay. Yeah.
These are the top 10 payouts that we know of. Some of these deals are undisclosed, the amounts, and for the most part, I think all of these are like the full publishing rights, images, like the whole thing. Some artists have done splits, like I think Stevie Nicks did a split of you can have a certain percentage
songs
of my publishing, or a certain certain percentage, or a certain way to use them. But these are full ones. And number one is Queen with $1.27 billion.
Wow.
For their catalog.
Wow.
Is that worth it? Do you think?
I guess it's a numbers game to see if the people who bought them, I'm sure, did the math and see how long it takes to pay off.
Well, there's different ways. Well, and that's part of the conversation, right? Is how are they going to make this money back, right? Now, if you're an artist, let's say Neil Young, for example, who recently or up until recently pulled all of his music off of Spotify because of some stances that they were taking with the Joe Rogan podcast. That it's a rabbit hole, but Neil Young basically said, take all my stuff off. I don't want it on Spotify. So he's not going to get any revenue stream. If he sells his catalog, he has no say in that anymore.
Exactly.
Right. So he's not able to use his music as a leverage tool, or as part of how he personally wants to conduct himself, or what he believes in, or who he wants to align with. All that is gone. A company can ostensibly say, well, we want to use it, for whatever. Maybe we want to lend it out to a political party, and maybe Neil Young doesn't necessarily agree with that political party, but he may not have a choice because he does not own the songs anymore.
You turn on the TV and your song is in a Burger King commercial that you didn't know about.
And that used to be
in the
no-no,
60s
right?
and 70s, selling out was such a big deal that artists, even The Who, made an album called The Who Sell Out, making fun of that. And I mean, for most of our lives, we haven't seen some of our favorite artists being used in commercials. But the past 10 years, I'd say, we're starting to see car commercials with some of our classic rock bands. And you're like, all right, fair enough. They're targeting the right demographic, and they got the rights to it. So
So is this a little bit of jumping the shark, Eric? I mean, or is this just do you look at it like that, or does it bother you that this kind of money is changing hands over?
Well, it's surprising to me that there's only three. You mentioned the three major.
Yeah, there's
companies.
more, but these are the big guys.
There's more, but what I'm kind of hoping, at least for the artists, is that they did the research and they sought these people out so that these companies can use their music and maintain somewhat of the integrity of not using it or selling it to people who are going to use it for shitty gain, or that kind of thing. If I would like to think that some of this music would be used for people who are up and coming artists. You put music in movies and such, which I love. I love hearing a good classic song in a new movie. Like a couple examples, the new Salem's Lot on Max. I just watched it. They used Gordon Lightfoot's Sundown. So it's always great to hear these classic tunes, but used in a way that's creative to the material that this guy's trying to present. Another example would be the trailer for Anna Kendrick's directorial debut on Netflix, Woman of the Hour, which I thought was terrific. But they used Paul Davis's I Go Crazy, classic, light song from the 70s, but it was very effective. That's what drew me in to watch the movie.
Mhm.
And if the music is done in that way, if it's used, if it's sold that way, I don't really have a problem with that, but I don't know if that's going to be the thing. But it is kind of free game. I'm sure people who have the right amount of money and they want to use it for something a little bit more, as Rob said, or like a crappy commercial, or some, something even seedier than that. Perhaps that
Yeah,
would be a
well,
shame.
yeah,
You know,
let me run
so
through the rest of the list, and then we can kind of pull that apart because yeah,
yeah,
that is a part of it is you're as an artist you're losing over the say so, but some
yeah,
people don't know that this went on, right? A lot, not every,
right,
and that's why I wanted to shed some light on this subject because this is something that not a lot of people probably pay attention to.
yeah,
But
Also,
anyway,
before you go through
yeah,
the list, I think it's interesting because I've seen numbers too,
mhm,
and you don't always know exactly what they relate to
yeah,
in the full scope of things. In the when you talk about like a band like Kiss sold everything, their likeness,
mhm,
their
yeah,
merchandising, everything, their logo, the whole thing. Sometimes bands just sell the music.
yeah,
hmm,
Sometimes they sell just certain songs, some of their hit songs. So
right,
every deal can be different.
yes.
So when you see a song somewhere, it's not definitively because they sold it or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there are certain artists, like you said, Billy Joel is hanging on to it. So if you hear something in a movie or see it somewhere, you know that they had to deal with him directly.
hmm,
But in this case, Bruce Springsteen Bruce Springsteen and Bob Dylan are tied for runners up, $500 million each
yeah,
for their catalog, and that's the songwriting and the publishing. Um, it's everything, you know. Dylan sold the rights to his recording, the recorded stuff, and the masters, it all. Pink Floyd is the newest entry
hmm,
Mhm.
into this, and David Gilmour recently said, he goes, "I hope this is something we can do because I'm tired of dealing with
The
Roger Waters. I'm
minutia.
tired of
Oh,
communicating, and I'm tired of having discussions over decisions and having to make these decisions."
yeah,
Gilmour was like, "I just want it done." He goes, "This would be a release to me." So they just secured a deal for 400 million for Pink Floyd. Phil Collins and Genesis, 300 million.
yeah,
Now, what that is that's the core three Genesis. So
right,
it's not the Gabriel stuff. Plus, it's all their solo stuff.
right,
So they got whatever Genesis did, and then there were three on,
hmm,
and then all the solo stuff. Sting also 300 million. That includes his Police output. Tina Turner 300 million. Kiss, like Rob said, 300 million. David Bowie 250. And then there's some newer artists. Katy Perry cashed out for 225 million.
now I wanted to say with an artist like Katy Perry or even Bruce Springsteen, and once again, every deal is different, but what if they come out with a future album that has a hit on it? I mean, are they selling their future recordings as part of this deal or just
Good
what they've
question.
produced so far?
I think it also carries forward because what would be the point of someone whose maybe best days were behind them hanging on to
hmm,
newer stuff,
Yeah.
right? As well.
yeah,
Dr. Dre 200 over 200 million, Justin Bieber 200 million, Neil Young 150, Motley Crue 150, Chili Peppers 140, Fleetwood Mac 100 million. But then also within the Fleetwood Mac is Christine McVie sold her stuff separately. Stevie Nicks sold a portion of her stuff separately, and Lindsey Buckingham sold
hmm,
his stuff separately as well. So, yeah, you've got this list is incredibly long, but those are the heavy hitters. Um, what if there's an art? Let's take it from the listener standpoint. What if there's an artist who's very very prolific but doesn't release a lot of their stuff? I mean, if a company owns it, right? If a company buys Pink Floyd,
hmm,
right, and they buy the catalog, they can now put out as many box sets as they want if they've got access to material that has never been released. So, in one way, Eric, do you think this is a good thing for the buying public because you may have an artist that's very fickle and says, I don't want this. But now if they don't own it anymore and the company says, well, we think the fans would want this.
Yeah, but wasn't that, already being done even before the artists started selling their stuff? I mean, certain record companies would like, oh, well, we're going to how many compilations have been made over the years? But you're right. They could dig through and you know what? That would not be a bad thing. For a listener, for like somebody like myself who is really into that kind of stuff, who really like to, listen to like demos and how things were recorded back in the day and that kind of thing, that an artist would just be like, meh, I don't see the point. But no, I think that's a good thing. I think that would be a part of the pros of the situation. We don't really know everybody's situation, whether or not they're in dire straits, financially, why, the reasons why they're selling their catalog. Those things aren't really being told. So we don't really, it's weird that I don't know how to feel about it in a sense. Cause like I said before, it's like, I'm just hoping that it's fortuitous for the artist and for the, to maintain the integrity of what the artist has done, just to, keep it going and keep it, but if they're going to just sell it off just to do anything they want, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. It's,
I think regarding that question, I think that I'm sure what you're talking about is a bargaining chip during the deal, and the artist knows very well what they're doing. It only it can only include what's been released and what's finished. Does it
yeah.
include demos? Does it include B-sides? And if they sell their demos, alternate takes, and B-sides, then they're giving someone else the right to put them out. They know
Mhm.
what they're doing.
Yeah.
Well,
And I think and Eric, you hit on a couple of different things. Nowadays, the business and this might be the part of the reason why is the way the music business is, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's not record sales generated, right? All these
No.
guys, if we went through this list, Queen, sorry, let me pull it up again. Let's see. Queen, Bruce Springsteen, Dylan, Floyd, Sting, uh, Kiss up until recently, Bowie until he passed away. All these people were still touring because that was where you made the money nowadays. Like, so
Yes.
is this artists understanding that the way the business is now, my record sales, no matter how great the music is, has a shelf life. Like there will be an expiration date. Like things, people don't buy records anymore like they used to. So I can't tour, and I don't want to be touring when I'm 85 like Dylan, right? So
It
and there's tax implications too by selling it. So do you think that's
that's a very good point.
coming into the calculation?
Absolutely. I think so because I mean it's almost like making records today is a niche thing, especially for older artists, because you don't see a lot of output, when people like Ozzy who made that latest record and even Metallica with, it just um I don't know. I mean, do all record sales just aren't what they used to be, and it's in used to think that they made records for the art of it, the sort of the create, but it's always been a business. It's always been, but how do you guys feel about artists just doing this? I mean, is it disappointing to you? My question, like, is it disappointing that these artists are doing this? Because we're kind of like, should we really care if an
Mm-hmm.
artist wants to make money off of this deal? I mean, what do we care if that they're getting $1 billion? We're not going to see any of that money. It's like, but
Good
you want to
question.
think that it's like, okay, well, we like their stuff because of the talent, because of the art. And is it disappointing to any of us that they are actually doing this, but only because they need to survive? This was their living for so many years. And yes, Dean, you said it, shelf life. I mean, and they're looking to retire. They're looking to take care of whatever family they might have accumulated over the years. And, so nowadays you kind of have to look at it, but it's no longer the sort of starry-eyed kind of thing where we're just like, oh, we're just listening to the music because it's so great and it's so, so artful, but we're not really paying attention to the business, or at least we weren't back then. Now we're forced to,
Yeah.
because it's changed so dramatically. Yeah.
Yeah, and with
So
such big
yeah.
bucks. Let me
Yeah.
kick it over to Rob, and then I'll answer your question as well.
Mhm.
Right before I came on this podcast, I saw on TV the commercial that everybody knows all too well for J.G. Wentworth. If you And
Yeah.
that's basically, when you boil this down to the roots of it, that's what this is.
Yeah.
They've got a structured settlement and they
Yeah.
just want their cash now. It's the winning, they won the lottery. Do they
Mhm.
want to take it in installments or do they want the lump sum? So many
Mhm.
people take the lump sum because you don't know what the future holds and you just want to cash in. It's a bottom line, it's a cash deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
I think that's what it boils down to.
But
what bothers me about the question you asked is why should we care, or does it really make a difference? Yeah, no, I see no benefit from it. I
yeah.
think my concern is that there's so few companies that are they're buying, like there's 3 or 4 companies that are buying the lion's share. So hey, where are they getting all this money from to shell it out?
Yeah.
But it like I said, it's different than Michael Jackson buying the Beatles catalog. It seems like there's
Right.
something more of a personal thing there. Like, oh yeah, Michael
Mhm.
Jackson's a musician. He loved the Beatles. He wants the catalog, and then hopefully he'll be a caring custodian of it. But if you've got
Yes.
Hypnosis that's buying 15 to 20 different catalogs, in the end, you're going to have a handful of people making those decisions. And do they really know what's best for the Pink Floyd listener versus the Dr. Dre listener? Or is this all just commodity, right? Is this now kind of
That
like,
was the thing. It's like it's not necessarily how I feel. It's a hypothetical.
yeah,
And that's the question that I think, you know, that's what makes this topic so interesting. It's but you're right. You're absolutely right in that sense.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
Rob, I think I think when people that really love music, I think it's an intimate thing, right? When you connect with a songwriter or a musician and they're
mm,
writing music and they're playing song, whatever it is, and we connect with that.
yeah.
Now, is it
I
has
think it
this?
becomes a totally different thing
Go ahead.
when the first time you see a song that you love used in an inappropriate way. I think this entire podcast has to be refilmed.
Why?
I think that's when it's not working. That's when the system is broken. Um,
But who's to say? See, now that's very subjective, right? It's
Mm,
who's gonna say whether or not it's appropriate for a Pink Floyd song to now show up in a video game.
well, I'll tell you one story I just heard. That Dee Snider somehow got the writing credits for all the Twisted Sister stuff. He wrote the lyrics and somehow it's all his. He recently sold it for a very nice sum of money and is quite happy with that. I don't know what the deal entailed,
mm,
but Donald Trump was using "We're not going to take it."
yeah.
And
Mhm.
he personally said to him, "Hey, you can't use my song." Now, I don't know if he had the right to say, "You can't use my song."
True.
He may have sold that ability to say that. And if he did sell that, then he kind of has to live with the fact that, Republicans can use his anthem.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's kind of what you're like I said, kind of what we're giving away. I was thinking about it this way: has music publishing become equivalent to an artist? Right, an artist paints a portrait, or they paint a picture, they hang it in a museum, and then someone buys it and takes it home. Right, the artist now has no connection to that. They have no right to that piece of art anymore, right? Because they sold it, they created it, but I think when you're an artist, you kind of go into it knowing that, right? You kind of go into it with, yeah, I'm going to hang my stuff in a gallery, and hopefully someone sells it, and I say goodbye to it, right? And that's
Yeah.
that's the end of it. With music and this type of thing, the media is a little bit different, but it seems to me that that's almost what's happening. Is like now this stuff now becomes something that just gets transferred over to somebody where we used to think, or I used to kind of ascribe a more personal relationship, like Rob said with Billy Joel. Like these are my kids. Now, one other artist, I forgot, I was reading it today. They were like, and they were talking about their deal, and they're like, yeah, these songs are my children, but I feel like I'm letting my children go. Like I feel like
Mhm.
they've grown up, and I'm letting them go, and maybe be used for things that I never thought of, or in ways that I never imagined, or could have monetized, right? So maybe
Yeah.
it's the artist also saying, let me, like Eric said, let me get the lump sum. uh, I don't have to worry about inheritance. I don't have to worry about my kids. They're going to get what percent of publishing. This way, it's just money at this
Yeah.
point. It's a lump sum. I've got capital I can work with. I can still tour and do whatever I want, but I don't have to worry about any of that other stuff anymore. And if this way, if the business does, trend in a certain direction, I'm covered, and I never have to worry about it again. But you're also cutting loose iconic works, right? Like Dylan
Mhm.
he just cut loose everything. Now maybe at his point he's like, what difference does it make?
Yeah, but
Uh, you know,
we've always said, Dylan never really, he puts something out. He just, oh, it's just nonsense anyway. I mean, there's the attitudes of some of the artists too. You got to consider. Back in the day, we used to get upset when somebody made a beer commercial. Oh, they're selling out, right? I
Yeah.
mean, the Who. How many Who songs? CSI have used how many Who songs? That used to piss me off. I actually stopped listening to them because of that. And
but,
some
but you
because
were
I
okay
felt.
with Miami. You were okay with Miami Vice, though.
But Miami Vice, I mean, but that's no. I mean, you're right. You're absolutely right. There really is no
Yes.
difference.
No.
But on the other hand, when people used to say back in the day, "Oh, the artist is selling out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want anything to do with this artist anymore." You don't really hear a lot of people saying that now about people selling their entire catalog. Uh, they're literally selling out at this point. I mean, they're just basically giving away their life's work, and it's just, yeah. I mean, it's understandable, but it's also, you just don't know. You kind of, at this point, do we as older folks? I mean, are we right there with them in the sense that we understand it now, we get it. We just, it's like back in the day when we were kids, we were like, no, 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 that's not, that's not
Well,
what
is
you're
it? Yeah,
supposed to do.
is it more of a
You know,
commodity? I mean, that's kind of what you're saying, Rob. I'll
yeah,
put it
Is
to
that?
you. Think about YouTube. Think about TikTok. Think about Instagram. How people just use the music anyway. Like they'll make a little reel and they'll put music over it, and so music has become commoditized anyway, right?
mm,
In people using it on YouTube and Facebook, and just kind of, it's always being used for stuff anyway. That if we stopped and thought about it, you'd be like, this is actually being used more than I would on a commercial, like that whole. From a
Yeah.
couple of years ago, the guy on the skateboard drinking the cranberry juice, skateboarding to Dreams by by Fleetwood
mm.
Mac. I don't know if you remember that. It became like a huge
Yeah.
thing a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
Dreams re-entered
Vision
the
Spray
top
bought him
10.
a truck.
Yeah, so we're kind of living in that already, where the music is kind of just being used everywhere. So I'm sure Stevie Nicks doesn't want to go hunt down each person, or every time something gets used, even
yeah.
innocuously. If someone used it, in a little video or something. Um, are we past that then, Rob? Do you think, are
Well,
we at the point of saturation where it doesn't make a difference if it's in a movie or in a commercial anymore?
I wanted to bring up something on the total opposite extreme.
Okay.
When the
Well,
artist,
answer this first, then do
yeah,
that.
yeah, when
Give me
no,
what I need first.
I'm gonna go
One
first.
thing at a time, Rob. Come on now.
When when Moby started out, before he had any fame or anything, he said, "I'm making my own stuff, and I am going to license the crap out of it to anybody who
Mhm.
gives me 10 cents, so that my music is everywhere." And he
Okay.
took the exact opposite side. He's like, "I'm going to sell out more than any artist ever." And I'm not saying it did or didn't work, but it kind of worked for him.
I think at
He
the
did
time
have
it did,
something
because yeah,
about it.
his music was everywhere in car commercials and
Now, it's interesting that it's music, because this is really a sign of anything in life that
hmm
you've worked on and that you've made your baby.
hmm
Let's say 33, 24. 5 years from now, someone says, Dean, I want to buy it for $5 million.
Uh,
It's your baby. You made it. They
Good
want all
question.
the episodes with you and Eric on it.
Yeah, we would
And
have to. Yeah, it's
they're gonna put strange things with you and Eric and put you in like,
well,
power beanies and stuff.
let's kind of go there. If someone approached Eric and I and said, we want to purchase the rights to it, how comfortable would I feel about somebody maybe manipulating things I say, and maybe cutting them into ways that I didn't mean them, or using footage of Eric in a way that he does not find flattering, or So
Very
yeah,
good point. Yep.
you're getting paid, but there's a cost to that, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the point you're making, Rob, is that
I'm making the point that every company that somebody works as hard as they can to get off the ground, any Amazon, any Facebook, anything that they put their blood, sweat, and tears into, and at some point they decide, I have to go public.
Yeah.
And they go public, and all of a sudden they own 30% of the company or 20% of the company, and the board can vote them out.
Yeah.
They did that to Steve Jobs. They voted him out of Apple for a while.
Yeah. I mean,
so you don't own the baby anymore, but you cashed in.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's put a bow on that. If anybody is interested in purchasing 24 podcast, if Hypnosis, Primary Wave, or Litmus is listening, and you want more than just music catalogs, and you want a podcast catalog, Eric and I will take the meeting. I think, right? Do I speak for Eric? We will take the meeting.
Absolutely.
Eric's like, fuck,
let's go.
Back up the truck now. I totally get what you're saying. And
I'm just saying it's your baby. You're selling your baby.
Yeah, but
yeah,
what is this going to lead to? It, and does it make? I mean, does it cheapen? Does it cheapen the process? Does it cheapen the fact that it's happening so quick that all these people are just cashing in? What does it say for the music industry? So is the point of making music is to get some popular songs so you can cash it out? Like is that what Devo got into this for back in the 80s? Or is this just their just rewards for all those decades of hard work? You know what I'm saying?
It's the never say never answer. They don't want to be that. They didn't start out to be that. But someone walks up to you with a blank checkbook, and all of a sudden you're.
Yeah, I don't think anybody really, when they set out to everybody wants to be an artist at first, right? We're just in it for the for the art and the music, and we're ready to make a change, and we're but yeah, it's inevitable that. I mean, Dean, you seem to be like on this. Obviously, is something that's, I think, upsetting you because you're such a music.
It's just concerning that it's happening so quick. And
no, I agree. I totally agree.
Every week, there's another artist that is selling to one of these 3 or 4 or 5, even 5 companies. That's my concern, is that all this stuff is getting consolidated into just a very few sets of hands.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if that means anything. Maybe it means nothing, but who knows what, But if you get somebody that again is in charge of that company that has a devil may care attitude, then maybe the stuff gets treated like shit, or maybe the market gets flooded with material so much that you're like, I don't want to see another compilation from Tina Turner or from Culture Club or whoever, because it's just too much. Like you're trying too hard. So like Rob said earlier, we don't know the fine details. We can find some of it. Some of it is publishing. Some of it is a percentage. And is there clauses that, you should, I should at least get a courtesy ask before you do something, even if you're not going to, even though you don't have to legally take my opinion, but I'd like to be a part of the conversation.
It does sort of close the world a little bit, doesn't it? I mean, we talk of consolidation. Consolidation is everywhere. It's rampant in the movie business now. It's, Disney is buying up all of these studios. Everything looks the same, feels the same. Marvel
under one umbrella.
You can't distinguish Star Wars from Marvel. It's like it looks the same. It's all part of the same package now, and it's like everything is just So
Do you
yeah,
blame
I mean,
George Lucas? Do you blame George Lucas for selling Star Wars?
well, there you go. That's
He
another.
blames himself. He regrets it.
That's a good point, Rob. I mean, that again, it's something
You
that
know,
I think he's probably I think he is regretting. You know,
Well, how about
um,
this? 'Cause this was going to be this. This is leading to where you guys just went to.
yeah,
What if you read? Because this is within the realm of possibility. What if all of a sudden, the estate of Humphrey Bogart said, "We're selling the likeness,
mm,
and you can now make an AI Bogart and put him in the sequel to Heat that is being worked on right now, and you can have Humphrey Bogart in there."
and what if they do that with music?
That's what I'm saying.
yeah,
This is the same thing. An artist. You're selling your publishing, which is basically your likeness, right? Your music is what you are. People aren't
right.
Right.
buying music because of your face; they're buying it for what your output is. With an actor or an actress, your likeness is what you're selling. So just like Kiss was going to do the hologram, ABBA has done it quite successfully, and Kiss is figuring out the finer details of having the holograms go out. So how do you feel? I mean, is everything a commodity now, Rob? Is everything fair game to be purchased? I guess is the
I'm
question.
afraid it is.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
hate to be, negative,
Oh.
but I think the dollar
yeah.
rules everything.
I agree. It's the state of things today. It's sad. It really is. It's
I think
corporations are
everything has a price.
yeah
Like Billy Joel was joking half sort of when he said if someone came up to me with $1 billion, but everyone has a price. Maybe his
yeah.
is 750. Who knows? You know,
And again,
everything
we
has a
don't
price.
know what's going through the artist's mind. Like I said before, like I'd like to think that each artist who decided to make, to do this is at least talking to these people and saying, "Hey, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to, how are you going to sell this off?" I mean, are those discussions happening in the negotiations? Are there, or is it just simply, "Hey, take it"? We don't, I guess each artist is different that way, but you'd like to think that they're all thinking on the same wavelength, but I don't know if that's the case. Some artists probably just don't care at this point.
Yeah.
They're they're they-
All
they're
right.
they're not long for this earth. There's several artists that are just sort of hanging in there, and I would think that they're just looking at now they're just looking at family and taking care of whatever. But it's
Yeah. And
that
then
has
there's that
become
notion of legacy, right? Of
yeah, exists. Yeah.
I guess and maybe I think about it too much or whatever. But yeah, what is there a difference between, like, we'll just use Bob Dylan again? Is there a difference between Bob Dylan leaving his family with $500 million, or leaving his family with the catalog of work that he created, with all the lyrics that he wrote and the recordings that he made?
Yeah.
Like, that is, because, like I said, it's different than an artist painting a painting who just paints it, and the expectation is that it goes. They don't need it to
Yeah, it
keep
is
them.
because
It's
that's something like lyrics. I mean, that's something that's coming from your soul.
yeah.
That in your mind and your soul and yeah, you could be flippant about it and all you want and say, hey, oh, this doesn't mean anything, but that's not what it means to the fans. That's not what it means to the people who have been supporting you and buying your stuff for years and so yeah, I think we, as fans, it is a concern, and I think we do have I like to think that we have some kind of a say in how this is going, and it's like I wish there was more of this kind of. I'm sure there's probably discussions all across the board about this, but it's just yeah, it's just sad state of the way things are today. That it's just and again, like Rob said, I don't want to be cynical of but it's just you have to be sort of a realist about it and just
Yeah,
take it for what it is. But I mean, you don't want to, but it's just it hurts. It
yeah, I
It
mean,
really,
goes back to the
yeah,
movie Indecent Proposal.
yeah,
Remember that?
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
You know?
So are all these deals indecent proposals, Rob?
Yeah, they're all Demi Moore, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, in the end, it doesn't change the original recordings. It doesn't change what these people wrote, right? It doesn't change how I feel about the music that was originally created, right?
Right.
So
You can't
should we?
take that away from anybody. Like the memories that this music, the people who listen to this stuff have all kinds of different reasons for liking it. And, it's like and nobody can take that away from anybody. So it's just,
So
so
am I making much ado about nothing then,
so
or is it
that's
something?
part of the
Is it
legacy though,
something to
isn't
worry
it? That is the legacy right there. It's what the fans, how they take it and how they, there are people out there who probably, like Rob was saying, he pointed out, like Moby, like, people, how many DJs are using samples of things and taking that and making that art. I mean, it's just kind of like, oh, I like this bit from that song and that bit from that song, but I'm making something my own, so I guess it all,
I
it
think
is
to the
all subjective, but it's,
I think we're a strange breed, the three of us. I don't think the average fan or the average listener is going to notice or care
yeah,
until they see one of those companies abuse a song and put it somewhere that it really shouldn't be.
about?
yeah, you're right.
Um,
You're absolutely right. Yep.
and I think when that happens, everyone's going to go, "What the hell is that?" I mean,
But I think the
look at
artist will still get the blame because if people don't realize,
Yeah.
right?
look, using "Caught in the Middle" in Reservoir Dogs.
Hmm.
And it actually, at first, you're taken aback, but then, you can't hear the song
But
again without thinking of that
Yeah.
scene.
that's the thing. See, I personally like that. I like when you take a song that you might think of the song as a kind of a sappy thing. How many of those old songs from the '60s are used in these, like, all, like, especially like thrillers or horror films, and they the sort of the creep factor in the song. They find that one line, or they find that certain maybe that certain sound, or maybe it's just a chord, whatever it is, but it works so effectively, right? It's like, if I kind of like taking a song and changing the context of it to fit the mood, or scene in a film. If, and like I said, if you're using a song for, to do something artful, something creative, I think that's a good thing. I don't have a problem with that myself,
Well,
but
and you brought up a
Wait,
good point. If you
you know,
if you look at people like Scorsese and Tarantino, they
yeah,
use music
oh yeah,
in their films, but they use it judiciously, right? They are coming from the point of lovers of music
yeah,
and wanting and understanding how this music can help enhance what they're doing.
hmm,
Now, a good example, the film Silver Linings Playbook, right?
hmm,
Famously used a song by Zeppelin, and Zeppelin was very reticent. They're like, we don't want to give our, we don't just let our music out like that, right? So
yeah,
David O. Russell had to appeal to Led Zeppelin and say, hey, here's what I want to do. Here's where I want to use it. Here's why. And they said,
hmm,
okay.
hmm.
If that's gone, it
that's
becomes more of
exactly
a
what I
cash.
was.
It becomes more of
That's
a cash transaction.
exactly, and
It's
you
like
know where to go. You know the three companies that hold it, and it's less
exactly.
of a, yeah, it's less of a convincing thing, and just you know, it's giving the filmmakers and the TV makers a much bigger catalog of music to choose from. Every song isn't a tooth and nail fight with an artist.
But
It's
shouldn't
just
but should it be though? Should an artist want to protect it and say, well, yeah, you really need to give me a convincing reason why I'm gonna let this out, as opposed to here's your check, give me the send me the files because I'm just gonna put it in.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That's a good
I'm just
point.
is there something to that, or
I
is it
think there,
just
well, absolutely there is. I like
transaction?
it, that but again, it also depends on the filmmaker too. I mean, the like, it's all about integrity. It's all
Mhm.
about respect and using, that stuff. If it's just some schlocky guy who's making a soft porn movie for something, and just using songs at random, like just to put songs in it, then that, that's one thing. But I'd like to think that there are people out there who are music lovers, who respect the medium, and just sort of want to use it to invoke emotion,
Mhm.
to so that, yeah. Yeah, but it's just, we don't know. We don't, it's there's so many levels to it. You know what I mean? So how do you pick and choose what's good and what's not? I mean, that I guess you gotta have to, decide for yourself what,
Good question.
yeah.
Rob, how does this? Do you think this how does this affect like smaller or newer artists? Does this trend? Do you think having like they're seeing all this money changing hands?
Hmm.
Does it create just an unhealthy atmosphere of, well, if I can just at least kind of get like Imagine Dragons, they're not necessarily a new group, right? They sold their catalog for 100 million. The Killers sold everything up until all their releases up until 2020.
I think it puts a carrot in front of their face, just like another part of success, of touring and all the things that come along with music success. Any business, you see people starting businesses sometimes, and it really hurts when they're like, I want to build a business and sell it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's their goal.
Mhm.
And if that starts to go into the music business, that's going to be strange, but it's just another carrot in front of them.
Yeah, I mean, if someone nowadays, because they don't really accept, unless you're Taylor Swift, can't really rely on album sales. So if an artist can create a career or a discography of successful enough singles, then they can just package that whole thing up and then tie it in a bow and sell it off to somebody. So maybe this is the new record contract, right? Because people don't make money on traditional record sales that much anymore, because you barely get anything from streaming. Maybe this is the new thing to shoot for, is to have at least a long enough of a career that everything in its totality can be packaged up
Mhm.
and then
Yeah.
shipped, and then kind of sold off, like the whole thing, like almost like a reverse. Like usually artists would get a big contract, right? You get a big record contract. Oh, we just signed a
Yeah.
deal for 7 records. It seems like maybe now the opposite might be happening. Is groups don't make money with record sales; they make it with touring. If they can become popular enough, they can then take that catalog and sell it off at some point, instead of
It's
the other way,
interesting.
getting paid and then for creation.
A lot of the bands I liked growing up would sell out arenas, but you'd never hear a song of theirs on the radio, and a lot of people didn't know who they were.
Mm-hmm.
Are they building up that equity to sell or not?
It's a good question, right?
Hmm.
I think so. I maybe like a Dave Matthews Band. I'm sure they're in this list somewhere. Not giant chart successes, but very rabid fan base, like the Dead, that go to see everything. And maybe if in the case of Dave Matthews, if the live recordings are a part of it, well, that's the treasure trove, right? That's like
Mhm.
that's where the money is. Just like with the Dead, if you're I think the Dead is on this list. If you're getting rights to all that, even though a lot of it's already bootlegged, but if you're putting out really nice packages of the Grateful Dead 1977, and the company puts out a comprehensive set
Yeah.
in multiple volumes of all their live stuff, officially sanctioned from whatever tapes, you're kind of doing a solid to the fan. So I think this could really cut. It can cut both ways. My concern is we just don't know what these companies' agenda are, and
Yeah.
how they're going to treat the material.
We're
Right.
going to have an emergency podcast if we ever see anything.
Yeah. This, we could
Something crosses
come
the
back to this.
line. You're like, wait a minute. It's like,
Reconvene.
We'll just record addendums to this. We'll just add extra epilogues
yep.
onto the podcast.
Glee just had an ELO episode. Quick.
See,
Mhm.
Ring the bell.
oddly enough, Bing Crosby
Really?
sold all his stuff was sold to Primary Wave. Price undisclosed. So there's a lot of older artists too. ZZ Top, John Legend. I mean, it's everybody. Paul Rogers, Kenny Chesney, Travis Tritt, Def Leppard. It's everybody that's literally kind of James Newton Howard, who's a music composer.
Mhm.
right? So he's selling all of his rights to like anything, all the scores that he's composed, which can now be used.
We use as temp tracks for
Yeah,
stuff.
or used wherever. You know, someone can literally relicense a theme now, right? If you know a popular theme and reuse it somewhere else, possibly. I'm not saying they would.
Can an artist sell, like a Jeff Lynne? Can he sell the points he gets off producing other albums?
That's a good question. He probably could. He could probably sell his share. I just saw this here. Bob Dylan's share of the Traveling Wilburys catalog specifically was sold to Primary Wave, which is outside of his regular catalog. So he sold his work. Yeah, I saw one in there where it's a guy whose production rights, his share of it. I don't know if it wasn't Butch Vig, but it was somebody like that, of stuff that they worked on. Oh, Bob Rock. Who's a he produced The Cult, he produced Metallica. Bob Rock sold 100% of his rights to Metallica's Black Album, 4 Michael Bublé albums that he did. He sold it to Hipgnosis. So so whatever rights, whatever money he was getting for his production work. So that's just going to be straight royalties. So that's that in that case, that won't affect if Metallica doesn't want to release something and they didn't sell their rights, no harm, no foul. Hipgnosis will still get a portion of whatever sales come in that Bob Rock was due for his production, whatever cut, whatever percentage he was getting from Michael Bublé and Metallica, that's going to go to someone else now.
Hipgnosis is basically bringing in accounting for tons and tons of people that did it individually. You know, all these artists did little accountings on this song and that song, and they're just bringing it all in-house.
Yeah, Jim Valance, who was Bryan Adams' songwriting partner. They wrote a ton of songs in Bryan Adams' heyday. He sold his share of the songs he wrote with Bryan Adams to a company called Roundhill. So so that's still a 50-50 partnership, right? So if they had an equal split, they would still have to consult with Bryan Adams and say, hey, we want to use Cuts Like a Knife for our new steak knives that are coming out. And whoever owns Jim Valance's might say, yeah, we want to. And Bryan Adams say, no, I don't want that.
What if Eric wants to sell his share of 3324, but you don't?
He'll have to have that. He'll have to have that conversation. Then he'll have to.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder, though, like, what is the reason that so many artists are doing this? You know, what is going on that there's a need for artists to just, get on that bandwagon and do this? I mean, that, we're going back to the beginning here, but it's just sort of,
that's a great final question. So
there's got to be something happening in the business or in the state of things I mean, and of course artists are different. Again, there's artists who have made money left and right, but of course they, a lot of that money was spent. A lot of it was, they might have made millions of dollars, but it's all wasted on drugs and sex and whatever the deeds of the day. But it's like, so now they need that money. So, but that's not the case for everyone here, I'm sure. So
they're just getting older. They're looking at their own mortality and meeting with the state lawyers who said, why are you going to leave all this piecemeal stuff to your kids? Just leave them a big.
But to Dean's point, though, wouldn't it be nice if they went to a lawyer and said part of their will is to will their songs? Would it have been a really great, sentiment or legacy kind of thing? And then, down the road, maybe the kids would probably end up selling it off. Who knows? But it just
That's true.
But
I guess it gets it out of the way. I guess to try and answer your question, I think it might be a multi-pronged answer. I think what Rob said is these artists are getting on in age and they don't have to worry about record sales or what is the next thing that the industry is going to evolve into that's going to help me not make money. Because right now, the album sales aren't a thing really. I don't really get that, and everybody's streaming, and I get a check for $3 for 2 million streams or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that could be some of that. I think some of it is tax implications because you can just get your lump sum, you pay your taxes, and you're done with it. And I think, I think those are the two. I think I think the way the business is evolving. So, and I
This
think
is
a lot
worth.
of them are
This
seeing
is
it.
actually really worth exploring. I think where
I thought we
really
did.
diving into. We should start making. We should make a documentary or something about this. I mean, it's it's intriguing. It's going down.
It's
Then now,
interesting. Yeah, it would be interesting.
yeah,
It would be interesting if we had access to a random sampling of these artists from all different genres and all different
right.
decades, and say, well, why are you doing this?
Yeah,
What is your reason for it?
absolutely.
Not just
Yeah.
older artists, but like I said, you got Ed Roland on here from Collective Soul,
Mm,
who sold his stuff. So is it? I think some of it might be these artists don't trust that the business is going to continue the way it's going to. So if
yeah.
I get out now, I'm guaranteed a huge payment, right? 500 million is nothing to sneeze at for Bruce Springsteen and those guys. Even 300, 200 million. This way, it's like, you know what? I don't have to worry about what the trends are. If everything becomes streaming, then I'm not making any money whatsoever because they pay nothing.
Yeah.
So so maybe now I don't to flip side that as we close out, I don't know what these companies then are going to do. Are they going to flood the market with material? Are they just going to license the crap out of it? Are we going to see an influx of Pink Floyd merchandise or memorabilia or T-shirts or I don't know what it means for the future. I mean, we'll have to keep an eye on it, and if we need to do epilogues to this,
Yeah.
we'll grab the three of us and we'll add updates. We'll add updates to the episode. But Rob, do you have any closing thoughts?
Not particularly. Just as I said, I think it's all about the money.
So just making sure that they're financially set. And that's the legacy that it's what the music can bring to their family.
Yeah. They want
Because
to.
in the end, I mean, it is about, they're not doing this just because, I mean, they're doing it because it makes them feel good. But in the end, it's about the money that is generated.
Yeah.
That helps them maintain the lifestyle.
Money.
This was their livelihood for so many years. Yeah.
So, Eric, what you think that as well?
Yeah, I totally think that, and I think it's also if that is indeed the case, every artist has the same reason for doing this. That what does it say about the state of things? What does it say about the future? Which is concerning. So yeah,
it'll be interesting. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't support your favorite artists, though. If they go do tour. Go see them because that's how everybody's making money nowadays. So if you really want to support an artist, what we'll do is I'll in the show notes, I'll put a couple of links to the lists that I found of the deals that were made, just so you can kind of look at it. It's just interesting to look at how many artists are doing this. Like I said, it's old, new artists. Brand like Katy Perry is pretty much a very new artist relative to Neil Young and Dylan and the Beach Boys and all these other artists. So. Hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. Let us know how you feel about this, or do you care at all? And just I don't care as long as I can listen to the music. That's great too. I think in the end that doesn't change because the music is the music. Yeah. The music has already been created. I already bought the CDs I'm going to buy, so I have already paid the artists that I like because I bought them well before. So
we bought the cassettes, we bought the vinyl, we bought we did it all.
I think the three of us have done our due diligence in supporting our artists, but
absolutely.
But we'll have to see what the future holds, and we'll certainly keep an eye on it. So, Rob Prisman,
yes,
thank you, sir.
Peace out, everyone.
For joining us. Don't run away yet, though. But he's ready to. He's like, peace out, bye.
Peace out, bye.
Duncan closes at 10.
Yeah,
but so thank you, Rob, for joining us for this conversation. I think it was a lot of fun. I think we're gonna sometimes we need to pull apart some of this stuff and just it may mean nothing or it may mean something, but
conversation in our viewers.
Say again.
I hope it sparks some thought and some conversations amongst those of you
I
out
hope
there.
So too. I'd like to find out if people care about it, were aware of it, heard something, didn't know. Again, just to kind of give a little background, we talk a lot about the behind the scenes of the albums we like. Well, this is a little bit of the behind the scenes of the business of the music and what these artists are doing. So, Rob Prisman, thanks a bunch for joining us as always. Eric and I will be here waiting for you each and every Thursday when new episodes drop. If you want to make sure you follow us on your favorite podcast provider. This way, you'll get a notification and you won't have to listen to what episode did he say that the day was that they came out. You don't have to worry about all that. You'll get a notification from your favorite podcast provider. You can also message us directly from your favorite podcast app. We cannot respond to you directly, but if you do want to shout us out that way or communicate with us, we'd love to hear for you. So for Rob, for Eric, this has been Dean. We will catch you on the flip side.